Good day, my plant foldies. This is Richie at Grow Folds, and today we'll be big box store plant shopping at Lowe's out in Preston Road, Frisco, Texas. As always, please make sure you are hitting the like button for this video. It definitely helps push this content out to more plant lovers like yourself, as well as following me on Instagram at Grow Folds. That's one way to get in touch with me directly. I definitely want to connect with all of our plant foldies, and for those that are new to the channel, I call my viewers and subscribers plant foldies. Welcome. My name is Richie. What a beautiful morning. It is December 31st, New Year's Eve. And so we're going to see what plants we can find the day before it turns to 2025. I am excited to finally be able to do some more big box store plant shopping videos. It's been quite a while since the holidays have been very busy for me, but you can see right from the get-go, they still have some seasonal holiday plants that are available here. And we're just going to see what sales they may have, what plant restocks they may have, and I'll just give you some more insights. But check this out first. And you can see that that is the Cultivation Corner Plant podcast show that I am part of with Janae Simone and Stephen of I Live Plants. We actually premiered our 4th episode yesterday on Monday. So we will have episodes every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I hope everybody will actually go to the Cultivation Corner official YouTube channel. The first 3 episodes actually ended up on our respective channels. I know the premiere episode was on my channel. The second episode was on Janae's, and then the 3rd episode was on Stephen of I Live Plants. But all of the remaining episodes and future seasons for the plant podcast will be on the Cultivation Corner YouTube channel. Definitely do a search. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel with all the notification bell on. But let's get back to all of the big box store plant shopping that we're going to be doing today. I have just been really excited to have this journey with everybody. You already know that I love big box store plant shopping. I love giving you guys plant care tips, insights, and just to see the whole year come to an end on such a positive note. I'm just really excited for that. The fact that we've been able to grow our plant community on this YouTube channel has been amazing. And you can see that as far as the holidays, it's so interesting how big box stores, retailers quickly change things after December 25th. So as far as like holiday shopping, post-holiday, post-Christmas Eve shopping, you'll see that a lot of these plants that were seasonal plants have actually moved away. And you can see that they have a lot of these seasonal plants. You know, one that you could see is these ornamental kale right here. I do find that they are ones that will pop up around the winter time and late or early spring, but these ones are usually grown as annuals. And for those that don't know what annuals are, basically these plants are only grown for a growing season, and then they end up just going to plant heaven, and then you end up having to just replant them again. Ornamental kale do better in colder conditions. You can see this one is for $5.48. Now, as far as it being grown as an indoor plant, I have yet to really see anybody try to do that long term. I did dabble on seeing whether certain plants that are really meant to be grown outdoors could be grown indoors. I have been told that any plant is able to be grown indoors, but some are just a little bit more conducive to better environments indoors as compared to something that really just needs a lot of bright light. But as far as ornamental kale, they come in many different varieties, and so I'm just going to show you a couple of these ornamental kale. So in terms of the new year, and as we just head into the new year, there's a couple of things I did want to talk about as far as like the things I've learned about plants, the things I've learned in general, and I will be discussing this throughout this plant shopping video. I would say the first thing that I really learned about 2024 about plants is plant burnout is real. And I say this because we just recently did an episode from the Cultivation Corner Plant podcast where we discussed plant burnout. And I wouldn't say that I had a full-blown plant burnout this year. I've had it in the past, but when I slowed down to really think about some of the solutions that could fix plant burnout or ways to mitigate even getting into plant burnout, the one thing I did learn this year is just making sure that whatever plant addiction vision you might have, or just passion for plants, as I mentioned it, is that you pace yourself. You look at your plants that you have in your plant collection, and I have a really bad habit of obsessing about anything, whether it's plants, whether it's a hobby, whether it's just something that's happening in my life. And as far as plants, for instance, I'll fixate on maybe a specific genus, like maybe Tradescanthia, where I would want to just collect every single type of Tradescanthia. I mean, you can see this is the Sabrina version, and then right over here is the Tradescanthia sana. The thing about it is, like, I remember buying a bunch of coleus plants earlier this year because I thought that coleus plants were really cool. They were very colorful. They were really meant to be grown as outdoor plants, but I've seen a lot of people also grow them as an indoor plant. And so I love the versatility of it, to the point where I was literally going to local nurseries, big box stores, to buy a bunch of coleus plants. The thing about it is, I ended up getting so many coleus varieties to the point where I had to put them outside in my backyard, and then to the point where I really couldn't keep up with them. The only reason why a lot of them ended up surviving and growing is because I was able to use a self-watering sprinkler system that would just, or an automated sprinkler system, and that helped me out. But then with the weather getting cold and the weather starting to really get cold in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I know that I'm going to have to part ways with my coleus plants. And to me, that's one of those situations where, number one, the amount of money I ended up losing just because I ended up buying all of these plants that I wouldn't be able to overwinterize. And number two, just the amount of effort and time I had placed into those plants. So that's one thing I learned is, plant burnout. And a lot of the plant burnout comes from just buying too many plants. And it doesn't really help that I do daily 1-hour plant shopping videos. I am definitely not complaining. Somebody had asked me in the comment section if financially, doing 1-hour videos versus, 30-minute videos would be more beneficial for me to, I guess, enjoy my personal life. I would say I do prefer doing 1-hour plant shopping videos, in a sense that it gives us a platform, especially for those that look forward to actually engaging with each other during the live premiere chats. Now, if for some reason I lessen the videos to 30 minutes, I just feel like that's not enough time for us to really engage in the live premiere chats. And to me, that's a really big draw to me personally for this channel, is the fact that we do have a community. We're able to engage with each other during the live premieres. I'm really curious to see if other plant YouTubers actually utilize the live premieres as a way to chat and interact with the viewers. That's something that I definitely enjoy. But going back to the plants, so you can see it is a beautiful morning, and I am walking toward this section. You notice that there's tables that are completely empty. Those were where all the poinsettias and all of the seasonal plants were, like the Norfolk pine. Obviously, a lot of them have been taken out of the store. And you can see right here, this is an Epipremnum aureum neon pothos, $20.84, but it is on the clearance rack. And what I love about going post-holiday, post-after Christmas shopping is the fact that a lot of things end up going on clearance, and that is also with plants. So this is, that neon pothos is actually just dehydrated. If you water it, it'll perk back up. And if it's 50% off, that's actually a pretty good deal for the plant. Now, as far as all of these plants that I'm picking up, and you'll see that at Lowe's, whenever there is a marker that is crossed out on the, I would say, the cereal or the label, that means that it is on clearance. Now, this one is a Syngonium. It's probably some type of illusion Syngonium. I like that as well. That one is for $16.84, but it is 50% off. You can see this is another type of Crusala or jade plant. So this is $6.98, but take 50% off, and that's not a bad price at all. The only thing I would say about clearance plants, again, is you're going to have to really invest a lot of time to grow these plants. A lot of times these plants have to be rehabbed, and they even have potential plant pests, so you have to be really careful with them. This one, though, is a really nice looking one, Ficus Audrey. It's actually in pretty good shape. This one is for $22.84. Now, that is a live transplanter, and then you can see right here, this is actually one of my favorite plants. I talk about this all the time, and that is the Aglaonema red Siam. It is a common plant. This one is for $15.84, somewhere around that range, but it is on 50% off. So you'll still get get these Aglaonema, but the thing about Aglaonema, if you're gonna buy them on clearance and you have to rehab them, the problem with Aglaonema is they take very long to bounce back. It's not one of those plants that you can just revive within like 2 or 3 weeks. Aglaonema will take even longer because they're very slow growing plants. Now you can see right here, $6.98. You can get a bunch of these Costa Farms Norfolk Pine, and that is also for 50% off. So as far as like Christmas shopping after the holidays, after Christmas, you definitely will save money on that. And that, you know, as far as plants, that is not an exception as well. You'll get some really good plant deals. You'll get some good sales. And that's another thing that I learned this year, 2024, as we head into the new year, is sometimes you have to exercise patience to get the best plant pricing. And what I mean by that is I've gone to a lot of plant shows. You know, I went to PlantCon 2024 in Dallas, PlantCon 2024 in Houston, and the Texas Aeroid Show in Houston as well. And there were a lot of plants that I was really tempted to purchase. The thing about it is, if I follow the trends and want to buy that variegated Monstera or maybe that variegated Alocasia, I would still have to pay a premium. The thing about it is, I noticed that even within a 6-month span of holding off from buying a specific plant and being patient with the plant pricing, I noticed that the plant pricing went down. So as far as like the want or need plants, I think if we exercise a little bit more patience and not really jump on the bandwagon of trying to get a rare plant right then and there, you will find a better price for it. And that's one thing I am going to touch bases on in terms of the plant content I will produce for next year, which starts tomorrow, is really honing in on how you can save money on plants, how to have a financially responsible plant collection without breaking the bank, because I have noticed in the last 3 months I have spent quite a bit of money, and that's because I am getting plants from overseas, and I've just really, I guess, indulge in a lot of plants. But if you can see right here, Plant Foldies, there are some really nice selections in the clearance sections, like this Aglaonema. So what I would say is this is 50% off, so it'd be around like $8 for it. You'll get 2 plants, and what I would do is definitely take this Aglaonema out of its soil substrate, because I don't know if there's any like pests in the soil. Definitely get rid of the yellow leaves, trim it back, really rinse and clean it, spray it with a lot of neem oil spray, maybe insecticidal soap, and then either repot it in a soil substrate, or better yet, put it in semi-hydro substrate like leca or pond. That's what I would do to really try to get that rehab. Now, as far as succulents and cactus, this is what I've been looking for. This is some type of like rainbow variegated kalanchoe. I think it's beautiful. It looks a little dehydrated, though. You can see that with succulents, if they don't have enough water in them, their leaves will be a little bit thinner, like paper thin, and once you water it, they usually bounce back. But as far as succulents, that's another thing that I learned this year, 2024, and heading into the new year, I'm going to be even more versed, is just understanding the different varieties of succulents. You know, a lot of times I would just group them and say, okay, it's a succulent or a cactus. But as I started to really do these plant shopping videos, and you'll see examples of this, for instance, like the aloe vera. I honestly did not know that aloe vera had so many different varieties, so many different colors and textures. And that one for $9.98, the aloe vera Diablo, that's a really cool one. But that's another thing about plants that I learned is, when you start to really go out there and do plant shopping, start to pick up plants you don't normally gravitate to, you learn something different about them. You find a new appreciation for plants. And that's the reason why I also love doing plant shopping videos. I love to just film plants, talk to y'all about, you know, what I'm thinking about the plants, maybe give you insights about my personal life. And I do think that it is interesting that some of my plant content, or just the format on how I do my plant videos, have slightly pivoted and changed to where it's more of me giving you guys my personal insights about the plants, not necessarily picking up a plant and saying, hey, this opuntia, for instance, is for $9.98, and then giving you a blurb of some plant care. I want to try to mix it up a little bit, and so I am being a little bit more off script. Not that I've ever had scripts to begin with whenever I create my plant content. A lot of times I will just go into a big box store, film plants. It's really for me to practice mindfulness. I cannot tell you, plant foldies, how fun it is for me to just take my phone and quietly mind my business and go to a big box store and just pick up plants, film it, appreciate the different types of textures, colors, leaf shapes, and even plant pricing, and really soaking all of that great plant energy in. I mean, you can see here, $24.98. This is another opuntia, and that's another thing, plant foldies. Another thing I learned about plants this year is while a plant is within a certain genus or family, plants are also may have different care tips. And for example, dracaenas. I always talk about a dracaena plant, for instance, being an easy to care for plant. The thing about dracaenas is when you actually break it down, yes, most of them are low light tolerant plants. Most of them can tolerate drought conditions, but then there are other dracaenas, for instance, that need more light, need more water, like the Dracaena Song of India or the Dracaena Florida Beauty, for instance, even though they're in the same genus. So found that interesting. So we can't always generalize a specific plant care for a specific genus of plants. And I know that might sound basic for those that are a little bit versed, but that's something I learned this year. I also learned this year that plant products, fertilizers, pesticides, plant accessories really depends on the person's lifestyle as well as the environment that you're putting in for the plants. For instance, I'm picking up these Miracle Grow all-purpose plant fertilizer. For me, I think that that's a pretty balanced fertilizer. It's an easy fertilizer. It's cost effective. It's easy enough to where anybody who grows plants can utilize that fertilizer and give the nutrients that the plant needs in order to grow. And that's one thing as far as like fertilizers. You really have to test fertilizers yourself, because sometimes fertilizers just perform better for others. Maybe it's the way you mix them, maybe it's the plant you're using them for. But one thing is for sure, if you grow houseplants or indoor plants or plants in general, please buy yourself Super Thrive. Some people don't believe in this B vitamin complex, but to me, it has been such a lifesaver in terms of giving the plant more vigor, especially when you're transferring a plant from a different substrate, from say soil to semi-hydro or just straight water. Or if you're getting plants that were in the mail, watering them with Super Thrive really gives them that energy and the vigor to bounce back from stressful situations. So Super Thrive is one plant product that I've learned to really recommend to a lot of our plant foldies, and that's one thing I'm also wanting to do next year, starting tomorrow, January 1st, 2025, is to give you some more of my insights, my personal favorites of some of the plant products. I'm thinking about you. And can I tell you just how it's nice to see, even right after the holidays, how a big box store like Lowe's or even Home Depot will replenish their Phalaenopsis orchid collection. So just a couple weeks back when I visited this particular Lowe's, for instance, this one had a lot of orchids that were not in bloom, but notice how they replenished that. And that's the thing about plants and just going big box store plant shopping. You really just have to get lucky and find specific ones. What I've learned in 2024 in terms of big box store plant shopping is certain big box stores are a little bit more, let's just say, efficient in how they get their plants into like the plant restock. And certain big box stores are also a little bit more consistent in even the way they present their plants or how they upkeep the plants when they make it into a big box store. So in a nutshell, I would say not all big box stores are created equal. And for me, you will notice this even in my plant shopping videos, that there are certain big box stores that I will go to and film multiple times a week just because they have such a good selection. And with this particular one right off of Preston Road in Frisco, Texas. This is right next to 99 Ranch for anybody that likes that Asian grocery store. This is one of the best Lowe's locations out in the North Dallas market. I have found a lot of like trending tropical plants. You know, I've been able to find me the neon enjoy pothos, for instance. I've been able to find Japanese pothos like the Champs Ulysses here. I've been able to find philodendron tortums and just all of the new trending tropical Costa Farms releases here. And so for me, that's one thing I did learn in 2024 is as I do these plant shopping videos, once you identify that there is a specific big box store that is consistent with their plants and just the amount of plants that they get, that's why I would say stick to the ones that are really good at getting the plants. That way you get, you know, a lot of satisfaction with the time you spend traveling to a certain big box store versus taking a risk of going to just a random big box store and hoping that you'll find that wish list plant. That's one thing I will say in 2025, I will try to venture out to more big box store locations. There are so many in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but when it comes down to like plant shopping, and especially if I am to add more plants to my plant collection, it would definitely be these specific big box stores that I typically film because I did find some really good plants. As far as all of the selections here, if you notice, even right after the holiday, even though everybody is done doing their Christmas shopping, I feel like a lot of the quote Christmas shopping or holiday shopping happens right after Christmas, and it happens right before New Year's Eve because a lot of retailers either end up making things on clearance, put a bunch of big sales, or better yet, they replenish their stock from seasonal items to carry forward items. So like, for instance, when it comes to plants, you can see that, you know, Live Trends, like this is such a beautiful Dracaena right here. This one is like a tricolor version. It's got multiple colors on it. It is in a hydroponic type plant situation where it's literally just growing in water. I always consider it almost like a water propagation. And then with Live Trends plants, Epipremnum aureum Marble Queen pothos. I love the Marble Queen pothos. We talk about that in every single video. And you can see this is for $22.94. This is the Live Trends hanging basket series where it's in a ceramic planter. Love that as well. Even though it is in a red shiny glaze, I don't mind that at all because Live Trends really does give you that modern vibe. It gives you that very simplistic vibe. Now, Urban Jungle also has the hanging ceramic baskets. Now, Philodendron heteroraceum, love it as well. And I would say another lesson I learned about plants when it comes to 2024, when I actually started doing a lot of plant shopping videos, is the fact that easy care plants, overlooked plants, underrated plants are the plants that are the true stars. They are the ones that we should be talking about. They are the ones that we should be bringing into our plant collections because of the easy care, and that will just save you money. So I urge everybody, if you're going to make New Year's resolutions, if you are thinking about revamping your plant collection, go back to the basics. Go back to those quote basic plants. Get yourself a Philodendron heteroraceum. Get yourself an Epipremnum aureum / pothos plant. Get yourself a Dracaena, or better yet, start that obsession like I have and get yourself a bunch of Aglaonema in 2025. That's one thing I would say. Now, as far as plant styling, you know, whenever you go to a big box store like Lowe's, I love the fact that they have what you call color stories where they arrange their plants and planters in a way that it's kind of like similar colors. I love how they have all of the cream and matte finish colors, all of these neutral colors. I am a fan of that because I do feel like, you know, these neutral colors kind of become a neutral base for the plants. And, you know, I always suggest to people that I like the more minimalistic approach, more neutral, more like matte finishes on planters, because I feel like the plant itself should be the star and not necessarily the planter. But, you know, some people have different tastes. Some people want more texture. Some people want certain characteristics for the planters. But for me, I like to keep it simple, at least for the planters. And that's another thing I would mention and highlight as another thing I learned about plants in 2024. And that is is to keep things simple. And whether it is in your plant care routines, in the selection of plants you have, in the space you have, if you keep things simple, it's going to give you a little bit more joy. You're going to be less stressed, and you're going to prevent plant burnout. And that really is a hot topic amongst a lot of our plant foldies and just the plant community in general. We're seeing a lot of things happening in the plant community, and a lot of it goes to people with a lot of passion, people who want to collect plants. They end up just overworking themselves, including myself, and receiving that plant burnout because we want every single plant. We want to be able to care for more than 100 plants. Somebody asked me, in the comment section, whether, what is a healthy number for plants? And to me, I wanted to be respectful. And, that's one thing whenever I am doing my plant shopping videos, or if I'm giving you my personal insights, my personal opinions, I never really want to step on anybody's toes. So, if I mention that, if you have over 100 plants and that's not a healthy amount of plants to really maintain sustainably, I could be totally wrong. Because if if you think about it, maybe somebody who has 100 plants might have the time to water all of their plants, take care of them. If you were to ask me, for me, a healthy personal plant collection would be more or less like 40 plants. I'm definitely over 100 plants, and it doesn't help that I actually propagate my plants as well. So I'm continuing to grow my plant collection even further through plant propagation. That's another thing I learned in 2024 on how to save money on plants, and that's literally plant propagation, propagating your plants and getting more plants that way. Do plant swaps or plant trades. Wait for plants to go on sale, and just practicing patience, not following trends, and just going back to the basics. So, like for instance, all of these plants I'm picking up right now, for instance, these are all urban jungle or live trends plants. You can see that this is the neon pothos. This is a plant that you could save money on, in a sense that not only is it an easy to care for plant, it is priced well, but you have all of the opportunities where you can actually take cuttings and propagate it. So that's one thing I would mention as far as like saving money on plants. I am curious, and for those that have made it this far into the video, thank you so much for engaging with me. I hope that you watch it till the very end. And if you haven't already, please make sure, yes, you already know what I'm going to ask. Please make sure that you are hitting the thumbs up button or the like button to help push this content out to more plant lovers like yourself. I really want to start 2025 on a positive high, and that means more plant foldy subscribers with your you hitting the like button, with you leaving comments, giving me plant insights, giving me that engagement. It definitely helps grow the channel out. But as far as just all of the plants I'm picking up right here, urban jungle, like this Syndapsis silver, and love it as well. Now, these are all for, I believe, $16.98. Hanging baskets are nice. I would say there is a certain element of hanging, plants. It does definitely save you more space. I feel like whenever you put plants on floating shelves or even hang them, it's a little bit more effective in the space usage. And that's another thing I'm learning in terms of, or actually what I've learned in 2024 is plant organization. When you have your plants organized, when you have taken the time to really think about how you're placing your plants, how you're plant styling your plants, what plants you're putting in your home, it's going to be a more meaningful, more intentional, and more satisfying plant journey for anybody. I will be really transparent. As far as how I'm ending this year, I am a little bit disappointed in the fact that I wasn't able to give you guys a plant tour, a houseplant tour like I promised. And that's really because I am a little bit self-conscious about sharing my plant collection. When you think about somebody who not everybody has met in person, some of you guys have not seen my face. It's always been a topic of a conversation on why I choose to be faceless. I've discussed that in some of my previous videos, but there is a certain level of expectation, I feel like, even from the plant foldies, to really present a quality houseplant tour. I wouldn't be able to do that because right now, the thing I learned about myself is I'm really not that organized with my plants. I don't really have the time, or I haven't been intentional about my plant styling. Would I say that I know how to organize plants and style them? Yes. But when it comes to like me really taking the time to like space out my plants, group them together, put certain plant colors and varieties together, I haven't been really intentional with that. To be quite frank, I have literally just hoarded a bunch of aglionemas that are literally on tables and tables of, in my living room, and there's really no sense of like organization. So as far as 2025, one thing I want to change, or at least pivot to making some adjustments, is just how I style my plants. You know, there are certain plant lovers, you know, plant collectors that really have a quality collection. And the trend that I want to follow, and it's a good trend, is to either downsize my plants. That's been a topic of conversation with a lot of people in the plant community, as well as just being more mindful about how we style our plants. Like, I love plants. I mean, even this, for instance, this Pan Am Polea, this one is by Costa Farms for $5.98. For instance, like, as much as I love the plant, do I really have the space, time, or energy to have that plant? Or is that space, time, and energy reserved for another plant that would really bring me joy, something that I want to bring in? Like Rex begonias, they're gorgeous. I love the metallic shine on the leaves. They're fairly easy to take care of. I always say that they're a little bit challenging, but honestly, if you stay on top of the watering, make sure that you're bottom watering them and you're not like getting the stems or leaves wet, you're good with that. Now, as far as this, one thing I learned about the Hydra Helix, or the correct way to say it is Hedera Helix. You already know, plant folies, I had to say Hydra Helix because you guys love Hydra Helix, or English ivy. Is I can appreciate and love the plant, but know that that plant cannot be in my plant collection. That's another lesson I learned in 2024 about plants, is certain plants may just not be destined to be part of somebody's plant collection. It doesn't make you a terrible plant, parent. It doesn't make you any less, adequate to grow plants, but certain plants, maybe just the environment in your home, or maybe just the amount of time you have that you can spend with your plant is just not conducive to the plant. Like, for instance, I will always talk about, yes, you already know it, Hydra Helix, but that Hedera Helix, or what you would really say English ivy, is not meant for me because I just cannot stay on top of the watering. I may just not have the right humidity levels for it, and maybe the plant just doesn't love me. And so it's easier for me to part ways with having that direct contact and actually just admiring it whenever I go big box store plant shopping. And so that's another lesson for me. I know that, like, for instance, one plant, and I know I've been talking through this whole video, but I just felt like this is a great platform for me to give you my plant insights as you walk around with me to watch these plants. And that is really looking at the plants that people struggle with, that are not meant to be. Alocasias are one of them. Calatheas are one of them. And that's another topic I wanted to talk about in terms of another lesson I learned in 2024. And that is, those finicky plants, those beautiful plants, it's not always worth the time, effort, or even the monetary value of the plant to put them in your plant collection, because at the end of the day, the end result is always going to be heartbreak. And I don't want to sound negative when it comes down to it. I'm literally speaking from existence. Like, for instance, this Hoya carnosa right here for $16.98 by Costa Farms in a 6-inch planter, that is an easy care plant. That's a plant that I would recommend because it's very forgiving. But when you could talk about plants like Alocasias, or better yet, Calatheas, gorgeous plants. Like, their foliage is amazing, but it's not a plant that I feel like, sustainably speaking, can grow in a lot of people's plant collections long term, because they're just a challenging plant. Now, if you are that type of person that wants a challenge, I say go for it. Don't let me influence you or make you feel a certain way when it comes to plants. But those more finicky or hard or challenging plants, in 2025, I'm really going to steer away from it, even though you see a perfect specimen. An example would be like a Calathea orbifolia, something that has like perfect leaves right at the big box store or local nursery. We already know, or at least in my care, I already know within 2 to 3 weeks there's going to be brown crisping leaves, and then I'm going to be asking those questions about, did I not water the plant enough? Was the water quality not what was needed for the plant? Was there enough humidity? Did I give it enough bright indirect light? And there's a lot of those questions that go through my head whenever I'm not successful with plants. And that's another lesson when it comes down to it. I am going to not overthink plant care. And that's really important because I think a lot of us, and I do appreciate the plant foldies that have mentioned how they have learned a lot from me through my plant, shopping videos. Sometimes plant care is really based on your experience, what works for you. So what works for me may not work for somebody else. I would say, yes, follow general plant care tips. Like for instance, if you have aeroids or certain plants, most of them will gravitate to a more fast draining chunky mix. But that may not always be the case, especially for somebody like me that doesn't water their plants as consistent. Maybe a more, moisture retention soil would be better for me. So it just depends again on your plant routines, the way you go about your plants. And so as far as another lesson I learned in 2024 is keeping plant care simple, trying not to overthink it, and definitely trying not to overthink when something does not go your way. As far as the plants I'm picking up right now, I mean plant foldies, like take a look at this. Live Trends plant, I ended up making this a need today. This one is for $19.98, and this is a philodendron moonlight. Beautiful plant. I love that yellow neon colored leaves right here. This is another easy to care for philodendron, and I just love how the new leaf unfurls as like a really bright yellow leaf, and then as it hardens, it starts to harden into a more like lime colored leaf. Now for it to maintain that color, just like most neon colored type plants, you have to provide it with lots of bright indirect light. Otherwise it will revert back to more of the green tone. But as far as Live Trends, that they're putting out some amazing plants, some super healthy plants. And if you look at the contrast, right? So we've got a philodendron moonlight on the left, and then a ficus elastica burgundy on the right. Love the planter as well. You can see that black next to the yellow, that would make such a good contrast. That's something I would do in terms of plant styling, putting some high contrast foliage from yellow to a really deep dark color. I think that just gives you a lot more like visual interest with the plants. Now, as I walk around here and show you this, like you can see this one is a Dracaena for $15.98 in a self-watering planter. Another thing I learned about plants in 2024 would be self-watering planters. Self-watering planters are a godsend for me because it has really helped me maintain a lot of my watering routines. I've been able to maintain some level of consistency with getting water to my plants. And, with self-watering planters, another basic thing I didn't even realize is in order for the self-watering planter to work, you have to have some yarn or some type of wick string to pull up the water. So whenever I was doing like semi-hydro substrate conversions, I sometimes didn't put the little white wick stick in there for it to pull water, and it didn't really water the self-watering planter. So it's a silly thing, but it's something I learned. And like I said, again, plant foldies, the best way to learn lessons about plants or anything in general is through experience. We don't become experts. And I always say the moment you stop learning is the moment you've prevented for yourself from growing. I think even the most versed plant lovers are going to consistently learn. Like my grandmother is still learning a lot of things, and I would say she's literally the original expert to a lot of the plants. But it's nice to slow down and really look at some of the plants here. Like right here is a self-watering planter by Live Trends. This one is for $14.98. Really good price considering how high quality the planter is. And then look at that neon pothos again. You have to appreciate the beauty of the neon pothos. And when you put it right next to that philodendron moonlight, can I get a like? Hit the like button if you haven't already for just those two plants. Absolutely stunning. And whenever you're plant styling, sometimes grouping plants with the same type of color palette also makes a good statement. And then can we talk about bird's nest fern? $14.98 again by Live Trends. This is another one of those ferns that would be a little bit easier to take care of. I do think they're a little bit more durable than the typical fern. And Live Trends has them. And then here is a plant that was really uncommon but is now common, and that is the Calathea. I'm sorry, not the Calathea, Marantha silver band. Beautiful plant. I love Maranthas. They're very much so similar to Calatheas. But, another lesson I learned in 2024 is Plants that are finicky, again, like the Marantha, once it hasn't done well for you and then you try it again, sometimes you have to really just give up on the plant. Otherwise, you're going to end up driving yourself crazy, losing money because you're constantly sending plants to plant heaven. Now, this one right here, $14.98. This is a Dracaena by Live Trends, and this one is actually in hydroponics, so straight water. So you really, if you're going to grow a plant in straight water, what you have to realize is you can't just grow that plant in water long term. If you really want it to grow, you have to put some plant nutrients on it. And what I realized, the plant products I use for plant nutrients would be a combination of Fox Farm fertilizers at a very trace amount dose. Like this one right here, I'm almost tempted to buy. I love a Dracaena Tornado, a Dracaena Hurricane. Look at how pretty it is. It almost reminds me of like an air plant in the shape of it. And then you can see over here, we've got lots of Haworthias, and Live Trends continues to just churn out all of these gorgeous plants. These ones actually do well in lower light conditions, even though this is a succulent. And, you know, whenever you think of succulents, I say this in all of my videos when I talk about succulents, in the fact that succulents need to be in bright light or full sun. But as far as a Haworthia, it actually can tolerate lower light conditions, which is interesting. It goes back to one of my lessons I learned this year, in the fact that just because a plant is part of a genus of plants or a family of plants, it doesn't mean that that plant is going to have the same care requirements. And for me, this plant right here that I'm looking at, that Dracaena, I was almost going to impulse buy the plant, which goes to another lesson I learned in 2024 about plants, and that is identifying whether a plant is a want or a need. And so during the Cultivation Corner Plant podcast show with Janae Simone and Stephen of I Live Plants, we have a segment where we talk about a want plant and a need plant. A want plant is a plant that it could be a wish list plant, a plant that you don't necessarily have to buy that very day you go plant shopping. And it could be a lot of factors, whether it's you needing to save money because it's a little bit of expensive plant. It's either you like the plant enough, but it's not a plant that you have to feel compelled to buy today, or it's just a plant that you can hold off on. Now, if a plant is identified as a need, it's a plant that you either have a strong affinity for, something that you just feel like you have to put in your plant collection. You find that the plant becomes a need because of the plant price tag, or better yet, it's just a plant you absolutely love. So I've pretty much repeated myself on that, but if you have more needs, you have to really assess whether that need is an impulse buy, because impulse buys end up making your plant collection more cluttered, more overwhelming, and you're out of money because you've added so much more workload with plants. And that's a lesson I've learned, plant foldies, as I pick up all of these plants today, as I reflect back on my year 2024. You know, there's a lot of plant YouTubers, influencers, or just people in general that spend New Year's Eve really reflecting on the year. And so I do apologize slightly. I'm actually not as apologetic by utilizing this video to speak to you directly about my plant reflections and the lessons I've learned. I think it's important for me to really, I guess, share my thoughts about what I've learned about plants. And I would just say, hopefully some of my key learnings this year about plants will resonate with you and will actually help you navigate through some of your challenges with plants. And maybe you don't necessarily have to experience that lesson firsthand. You can kind of live through it vicariously. And as far as this plant right here, like, yeah, I already know that I don't necessarily need a philodendron moonlight, but that is just a stunning plant in $19.98 by Live Trends. That's another thing I will say. Another lesson I learned about plants is, if you're going to go plant shopping, if you're going to find a plant that is going to be at its best health when it makes it to the big box store, and that is whenever the plant has just been recently restocked. So if you happen to walk in at a big box store and you see employees just taking them out of their boxes, or you notice that the plants have just been put on the shelf, if you're going to go plant shopping, the lesson I've learned is go ahead and purchase the plant if you've identified it as a need, versus waiting for it to stay at the big box store where it could potentially get neglected. It could potentially get a plant pest. There's just a multitude of reasons why it's best. And, you know, it seems like common sense, but plant shopping whenever there is a plant restock is a lesson I learned. So take it for what it is. But as you can see, Plant Foldies, this particular big box store, Lowe's, has a lot of new plants. This has been restocked. And I mean, this Monstera deliciosa, for instance, $19.98. I love the planter it's in by Live Trends, but I also love the leaves of it, that heart-shaped leaf. And notice how this Monstera deliciosa has like a natural leaf shine. That's another lesson I learned in terms of plants. Leaf shine and neem oil. If you are able to really clean your leaves, manicure your plants, style them in a way where the foliage is stunning like this, that will actually, I think, inspire you to really get into more of your plant care routines when you start to see beautiful foliage, beautiful leaves, because you've taken that extra effort to make that plant even more beautiful than it naturally is. That is a lesson I learned. I've noticed that when I take the time to spray my plants, and I will plug a specific neem oil spray that I like, that's not the Plant Foldy mist that I use and make myself. It's called We the Wild Protect Neem Oil Spray. It has a great scent. It doesn't smell like some really bad smelling neem oil, because let's face it, Plant Foldy's neem oil is not the best smelling scent, but the We the Wild Protect neem oil spray is amazing. It really does shine your plants. It gets rid of plant pests. It gives the plant a certain type of pheromone which it releases to where it kind of wards off plant pests. So I love that it's organic, it's natural, and it helps make your plants presentable. And that's the thing I am going to be working on this year in 2025. I cannot believe just in a few hours it will be the new year. Aside from just the plant journey I had this year, I would say I'm very thankful for a lot of things in 2024. I would say I was really blessed with having a really good job that was consistent, that was able to give me, stability and monetary value. And let's talk about this. Another thing I learned about big box store plant shopping is sometimes you never expect finding a rare or uncommon plant. Like I literally fell over when I saw this Grindula. This is a Grindula pothos, which is basically a reverted Manjula pothos. And the only reason why I say it's uncommon is because I've never seen it offered in an 8-inch hanging basket. And while I was just talking about impulse buys, this is another plant that just really catapults itself into a need. Like I need this today, and I will buy this today because number one, it is a pothos plant, so it's going to be easy to care for. Number two, it is something that you commonly do not see. Like yes, it's a reverted green pothos, but what I like about the Grindula pothos by Costa Farms is it has more round, robust leaves. It definitely has that leaf shape like a Manjula, and it looks like there are 2 of them at this location. And that's another thing I learned about 2024 in terms of plant shopping. You should never really rule out the fact that if you go plant shopping that there will be a plant that you wouldn't find, because like this is a perfect example of me finding a plant that I was not expecting. I mean, the fact that even though it was just a green plant, you can see that it's clearly a different type of pothos. Again, this is a reverted Manjula pothos, but Costa Farms is calling this a Grindula pothos. And it's one of those things where yes, I talked about not having impulse buys, but this plant actually becomes elevated in the sense that I already know that this isn't typically a plant that I would find. And really for $20.98, I am using a gift card that, a family gave me, a Lowe's gift card. So it's not like I'm out of money. It's really me being able to pick a gift for myself. So thank you to my family member that was able to give me a Lowe's gift card. And really all of the gifts I received from my family were a lot of these big box store gift cards like Home Depot, Lowe's, and Walmart. So I really appreciate that. And I think me being very blunt, very, very straightforward about what gifts I was hoping to get actually landed me with that. And that's the reason why Plant Foldies for me, I've always been very transparent about the things that I want or need. And even when I ask, everybody, if you can, it would definitely help me out if you do hit the like button for these videos, leave comments and just engage with me. That definitely helps this YouTube channel out. And if you you really feel inclined or feel like you want to support me even on a monetary tip, you can do a super sticker. And that's the thing I've also learned in 2024 is the fact that sometimes being transparent, being very blunt is with what you need is actually more helpful than beating around the bush and not telling or communicating what you need. And that just goes with whether it's plants, whether it's people, whether it's your family, friends, that type of open communication is really vital. And so for those that have taken the time to, send me a super sticker, super thanks, I am putting those live goals in the live premiere chat. So definitely check it out when I create a goal. It has helped me a ton. If anything, it helps fund my gas that I spend for driving around to do these plant shopping videos and just my plant obsession. Sometimes I just need that extra help to, get certain plants. And I do appreciate all of the plant foldies that have helped me out with the super sticker. But more so, as I reflect on 2024, the way the community of plant foldies has really come together, I would say, going to PlantCon, meeting plant foldies in person, being able to engage with you guys, I was able to see that there is a diverse amount of people that really appreciate my work, and it's a very humbling experience. I cannot tell you how much you, the viewer, have helped me get through a lot of things, whether it's some of the stresses of life, it's whether it's me through plant burnout, whether it's me finding that purpose or really refinding the purpose of why I'm growing plants, and a lot of your interactions, getting to know y'all, getting to share these daily plant shopping videos in 2024 has really made it special for me. And I hope that I am able to meet more plant foldies as 2025 approaches. It's a pleasure to meet you guys in person. I'm always open to meeting you guys, especially if it's at plant conventions or even local plant nurseries. I'm pretty easy to spot if you're ever in the DFW area. I'm that one person that's just walking around filming plants. So feel free to say hello to me. And, as far as a face reveal, that could be your instant face reveal. As far as a face reveal, it may happen in 2025. But again, the reasons why I try to just remain faceless on YouTube is, number one, there are a lot of YouTubers that are faceless as well, that are just as successful, just as personable as somebody who has their face in front of the camera. I like to have that separation from social media and what I do on a daily basis with the people that I interact with in person. And, it's one thing I also have learned in 2024, especially being a content creator, is you cannot always please everybody. And it's one of those things that we have to learn and accept. I can only control what I can control. And I cannot control how somebody feels, how somebody responds, how somebody comments. But what I can control is to show appreciation and gratitude for those that truly appreciate me as an individual and as a content creator. So that's a lot of the lessons. And I know plant foldies, you're probably wondering why I've spent quite a bit of time, at least this episode, the last episode of 2024, Big Box or Plant Shopping, just giving you my plant insights. It's always nice to just walk around again and pick up plants. Like, look at this neon pothos right here. I do love these horizontal shallow containers that they have. It's a really nice look, and I'm almost tempted to purchase this because this is something I wouldn't mind putting in my plant collection. And I did notice that Urban Jungle is also doing that top dressing of fake moss on there. I'm not a fan. I wish if they're going to top dress the plants, it would be something else. But that's really to each his own. It's all about that plant aesthetic. 2024 has been amazing. I cannot tell you how much fun I've had filming all of this plant content. There is a lot to look forward to at Grow Folds in 2025. Just like all of these Aglaonemas, $49.98. This is the Aglaonema BJ Friedman. This is one of those Aglaonemas. I've mentioned this in all of my videos that can get really large. Look at how beautiful the leaves are. And even though it is more of a green type plant, maybe it doesn't have the variegation that some people are looking for. It is a consistent plant. It is a plant that will bring you joy. Ponytail palms, they are a succulent, and that's one thing I learned about plants is certain plants that have a name palm, for instance, may not necessarily be a palm. So lots of learnings for sure, lots of key learnings. And one thing that is for sure is that as I look forward to 2025, I am just very excited to even learn more about plants, but even more so learn more about just life in general. You know, life is an amazing journey. I think at times we delve into some of the negativity that happens in our lives, and I do want to extend a warm hug to any of my plant foldies that might be struggling, might be having some hardships in their life. I appreciate you being very transparent, being vulnerable in the live premiere chats, because at the end of the day, and I will shout out this to my loyal plant foldie Bella, I really hope things are go the other way and become even more uplifting and positive as you and your spouse, your husband, go through some of these tough times. I hope that you know that in 2025 the plant foldies are there for you. And that's the thing again, plant foldies, one thing we can do as just a community is to make sure that we are better, in a sense that we always exercise kindness. Kindness is the key to just making everybody happy. Like, you know, kindness is free. Kindness is not that hard. Kindness is one of those things that I feel like the world sometimes lacks. I sometimes find myself not being as grateful about certain things, and so I have to ground myself and just exercise that kindness. So for, again, the plant foldies that may be struggling with life, maybe struggling with their plants, maybe have a plant infestation, just know that this channel right here, as quirky and silly as it may be, going and watching big box store plant shopping videos, know that it is more personable. Know that there is a community out there, and know that I'm going to try to plant influence you. You can see that I'm picking up all of these Aglaonemas by Costa Farms, and I love it. And if you notice the red one that I picked up, yeah, that's another Aglaonema that's new by Trending Tropicals. That is the Aglaonema Pink Dalmatian, and that's another one that I was almost tempted to buy, but I talk about like certain plants. I already know I'm buying that green Jula today, and so I'm gonna hold off on spending even more money. I do feel like that release of Aglaonema Pink Dalmatian will still be around, and you can see right here, this is the Aglaonema Maria. Even though it is a green version of an Aglaonema, it is still one that requires the same type of love as we would for any other of the more colorful varieties. But as far as this particular Lowe's, again, if you are in the DFW area and you want to find some quality, healthy plants, shop at the Preston Road location Lowe's, right off of it's right next to Warren Parkway, right next to 99 Ranch. This is one of the go-to Lowe's that I go to. And you can even see here, Trending Tropicals plant. This is another philodendron, Painted Lady. Now, the only thing I've learned about Painted Lady or these types of philodendrons is they can revert to green if you do not give them enough light. And that's something I learned in 2024 is light can influence coloration, variegation, and you have to just get to know the plant on an individual basis. Like some plants, variegation can get pushed out because of its just initial genetics. So like the Montserrat Thai constellation, no matter what light you give it, it's always going to give you stable variegation. Now, as far as like Syndapsis trubii Moonlight, that one, if you give it more bright indirect light, it's going to give you more of a grayish, silver, bluish tone because of the light. And the same thing with a golden pothos. Giving it more bright indirect light will push out even more variegation for it. It's not going to be as green, and that's a lot of the things I learned about plants in 2024, and hopefully plant foldies, you didn't get tired of me just kind of rambling on about some of these key learnings. I am just really thankful that I can pick up plants, show you guys these, talk about my love for, say, Aglaonema Silver Bay right here. For instance, if you don't have an Aglaonema Silver Bay, buy yourself one. Everybody that is watching this video today, I hope that by February, everybody has bought an Aglaonema. I'm very intentional on what type of influence I want to do in terms of plants, because my intent is to really highlight plants that are overlooked, underrated, and just plants that not a lot of people either know about or have that much interest. I feel like utilizing a social media platform can be very powerful in a sense that it can be used to really promote certain initiatives, and that would be for me just to get more people into these easy to care for plants, aglaonemas especially. So that's what I want to see in 2025. Things that I'm also looking forward to in 2025 is definitely more big box store plant shopping videos. That's always going to be a staple. You're always going to see a xanthosoma at least within a week in my YouTube channel, but I also want to show more of my personal plant collection. I want to show more of my personal insights about plants, how to do things of that nature. So, stay tuned for that. And then this one right here, $15.98. So this is an example of another calathea, a new one that I don't typically see. It's beautiful, it's healthy, but I've learned my lesson. Unfortunately, this is a calathea or a plant that's just not going to make it into my plant collection because of the circumstances I have in my own personal space, in my personal home. Xanthosoma though, this one right here for $20 or $19.84 would be a plant that I could still add to my collection because it's an easy to care for plant. And calatheas, I mean, that is one lesson I've learned. It is the biggest heartbreak aside from Hydra Helix. Those are plants that are just really not going to enter my plant collection in 2025. And it's unfortunate because they are stunning plants. They're gorgeous plants, but they're just challenging. Monstera deliciosa, that juvenile form, I could add one of those again. And as far as like duplicates of plants, there are certain varieties I can always have multiple duplicates of. To name a few, I would definitely have multiples of, like, say, Philodendron Moonlight. This one is just stunning, for instance, and I wouldn't mind that. Any neon colored plants, pothos plants, and obviously aglaonema. Aglaonema are going to be the cream of the crop in terms of my plant collection, and I'm just excited to be able to show you that my plant foldies. So let's just look at some more plants as I wrap up this video today. I really hope that you guys have all had an amazing new year. I hope that 2024 has treated everybody well. I know in a sense that this plant community has treated me with the utmost respect and kindness, and I really hope that we continue to grow that same positivity, that same support system, and really grow as individuals, as well as grow the plants that we choose to grow in our plant collections. Because plants in general, for me, the one last lesson I would say I've learned in 2024, if it's relating to plants, is plants have not only grown for me, but plants have grown me as a person. And when I say that, plants have really taught me how to be patient, how to be forgiving, how to be kind, how to have solid routines, how to share my passion and love for plants. And I wouldn't really have gotten all of those lessons from maybe just an individual person, but plants as a whole have really grown me as an individual. And the sky's the limit for me. I don't want to limit myself in terms of what growth I'm going to have this year. And so as far as the plant shopping videos, guys, plant foldies, you already know, this plant right here, this Marantha, I would really want to buy this, but I already know for $16.98, this plant isn't going to grow for me long term because of the routines. But plants itself, so many lessons, so many key learnings, and so many things to be grateful for. And I hope that within the next couple hours, as the new year approaches, we all come together, we make the new year safely, and we're able to celebrate our wins and our triumphs with our plant collections, and just really grow this community. So plant foldies, like I said again, definitely look out for some more aglaonemas. This is that new aglaonema pink Dalmatian. I definitely want to add that to my plant collection. We'll see what that looks like in the next couple of weeks. I hope that you guys have enjoyed 2024 with me. I definitely wouldn't have had the same type of engagement if you, as every single one that has clicked on my videos, has really engaged, has really invested time on those daily live premiere chats. I cannot thank you guys enough, and know that all of these plants that I pick up, I think of you guys. I think of all of the plant foldies, and I hope that you guys will also tune into the plant podcast show, the Cultivation Corner. You will see more of me, since you don't really see my face in this one. At least you see my body, my little mask, my little sunglasses that some people say is so disturbing in the comment section. But you know what? If it's disturbing, then that's I can't help how you feel. All I can do is do me, be myself, and treat people with kindness, and try to influence you guys on this aglaonema. So I'm gonna pretty much end this video to show you the aglaonema pink Dalmatian, the aglaonema red Siam, and just wish everybody a safe and happy new year. Hopefully you guys will buy more Aglaonema. You can find them at Lowe's or any big box store. And if you like this video, again, please hit the like button. You already know that helps me out. And I hope that you guys are celebrating and being safe. And 2025 brings us a lot of prosperity and happiness. This is Richie at Grow Folds. I'll see you next year. Bye.